The opening scene of Jordan Peele's Get Out is a masterful example of how cinematic techniques, including camera, acting, mise-en-scène, lighting and sound, can be used to create suspense. In early drafts of the script, the scene played out quite differently. During Dre's abduction, Peele intended to cut to the interior of a house where a white family were oblivious to the abduction taking place through the window behind them. Ultimately, it became much more important for the audience to be immersed in the experience of being a black man walking down the street in a white neighbourhood, and from that point forward, know that race is the monster that we're fearing, he said during an interview with the Directors Guild of America. To create this sense of fear, Peele decided to film the scene using a one-er, a single continuous camera movement. Directors like Steven Spielberg, Alfonso Cuarón, and Sam Mendes have all used long takes to create immersive and engaging scenes. Peele decided that shooting the opening scene of Get Out as a one-er would help the audience identify with the experience of being a black man in a white neighbourhood. Steeped in horror history and inspired by films like The Shining and Halloween, he also felt that the ethereal motion of a Steadicam creates the nagging feeling that the audience is being watched. The scene opens with a Steadicam shot that slowly pulls back. It's a subtle but important few seconds that help to establish a sense of place and isolation. Dre tells his girlfriend that he feels like a sore thumb. Combined with this line of dialogue, the ornate street lamps, towering oaks and large houses all suggest that he's in a predominantly white suburban neighbourhood. A neighbourhood that Peele explains, seen through other eyes, would be idyllic and welcoming. Another aspect of this opening shot that helps to build this sense of fear is the low-key lighting cast by these ornate street lamps and the impenetrable shadows that fill much of the frame. When it comes to audience engagement, enough can't be said about the performance of Lakeith Stanfield, who plays Dre. His light-hearted banter about being lost in a creepy-ass suburb makes him immediately likeable, and yet there's a sense of disquiet as he emerges from the shadows and glances suspiciously off camera. This sense of unease builds as he stops for a moment, then the camera pans and he turns the corner, revealing a white car driving slowly down the darkened street. It's this moment where the one-er really helps to engage the audience as the camera orbits Dre, tracking the car as it slows and turns around. For a few unsettling seconds, the audience recognises the threat before Dre does. One of the things that's most effective about this scene is the way the long take works with other techniques, particularly music, to convey this sense of threat. As the car pulls to a stop, the unsettling sound of Flanagan and Allen's 1939 song, Run Rabbit Run, comes from the car. It's a surreal and disconcerting moment. Again, Stanfield's performance really helps the audience to identify with his character when, perturbed by the car following him, he says exactly what the audience is thinking and abruptly turns around. It's in the next few moments that this precisely planned and rehearsed one-er is most unsettling. In his interview with the Directors Guild of America, Peele explained that effective horror exploits the imagination of the audience. As Dre turns around and the camera tracks him walking in the opposite direction, the car is out of frame for a few excruciating seconds, and the audience is kept in suspense by being denied a clear view of the threat. This suspense continues to build as he crosses the road, and the camera pans to reveal the idling car with its door hanging open. As a first-time viewer, one of the more distressing moments is what occurs next. The low-key lighting and shadows means the audience doesn't get a clear look of the figure or the bizarre helmet that he's wearing. After the struggle, the camera pulls back slightly, but the audience still can't get a clear view of Dre's assailant as he's being dragged towards the car with its red taillights. All of this, of course, is underscored by the creepy, non-diegetic use of Run Rabbit Run. The scene ends on a macabre note as Peele makes his first cut to a wide shot of Dre being callously bundled into the trunk of a car. The door slams shut and it drives away. When it comes to audience engagement in this scene, however, we're dealing with more than just the masterful use of camera and sound. As an audience, we bring our knowledge of the terrible crimes that occurred in America before the film's release. This knowledge heightens our anxiety as the film navigates the treacherously thin line between fiction and reality. As Peele said in an interview with Fangoria, the greatest monster that a horror movie can deal with is society. And that's the opening scene of Get Out. It's an elegant, single take encouraging the audience to identify with a character in seconds that builds suspense and sets up the film's examination of racism in America.